Well, g'day, folks. Today we are joined by one of the best footballers of all time. He's a three-time premiership player with the Brisbane Lions, also a three-time club best and fairest, Norm Smith medalist, and a Brownlow medalist back in 2002. And he was on the TV show Survivor. He's also started a great academy called the Simon Black Academy. Looking forward to speaking to the great Simon Black.
Welcome to Legends with Bevo. Thanks to the Holdy Hotel, Coopers, and Anytime Fitness Glenelg.
Well, Simon Black from the Simon Black Academy. Great to have you on Legends with Bevo. What a privilege to chat to such a legend. Mate, how are you going over there in Brisbane at the moment? And tell us more about the Simon Black Academy.
Yeah, thanks, Bevo. Nice to be with you, mate. Going well in this isolation period. All was good. We actually went to Fiji on a family holiday. It was 6-8 weeks ago, and when we were over there, it was announced that you had to go in the quarantine period for 2 weeks when you got back. So we had a pretty early introduction to the isolation as a family. Got to know each other pretty well throughout that time. All going well, thanks, mate. Our academy program is still continuing. We are fortunate. Our program is an education program first and foremost, tailored with an AFL Aussie rules program around that. We've partnered with Torrens University, and they provide our academic course. First year is a diploma of sports development, which then runs into a Bachelor of Business in Sports Management, second and third year. So it's sort of school leaver type age demographic. And as I said, the football program ties in with the education side, and the AM part of the day is the athletic/footy side, and the classroom education side's in the afternoon. And the age entry is sort of 17 and a half plus, school leaver age bracket. We have programs, one in Perth, one in Adelaide, based at Norwood Football Club, one in Melbourne and one in Brisbane up here. So it keeps me busy, mate. But I've really enjoyed the involvement with the course and with Torrens University the last few years, and I guess trying to impart a little bit of my knowledge from my playing days and life, I guess, to our young males and females.
And what's involved with the academy, mate? Obviously, it's training and learning on the job and situations. Playing footy and outside of footy as well. But yes, if I sort of know of a kid that wants to get involved, or for people that are listening out there, tell us more about it, how it all works.
Yeah, so as I said, we're partnered with Torrens University, and they provide our academic academic course. The first year is diploma level, which then runs into the degree Bachelor of Business in Sports Management. If there's anybody out there who is interested, I guess a little bit more background around is we have three pillars to our program. It's the education side, the football side, which we try to really, I guess, be specific with our skill development of our young males and females. And a lot of our guys and girls play for their local footy clubs. Not at the moment, I guess, with current environment. But so we, if you come to us and you're an inside midfielder, or you want to become an inside midfielder, we really try to tailor our design our drills around the specific attributes needed to play that position. You're a key back, you're a small forward, whatever it may be. So we really try to be quite proactive to make our students come to us about what it is they want to work on, and we design drills around that. Obviously, there's a lot of group training that takes place each week and each session, but we really try to separate ourselves by giving our students a bit of a customised approach to their footy development. And we're fortunate to have some ex-AFL players and coaches as our mentors for our student athletes. All our coaches in each state have got some level of AFL background, from Gary O'Donnell, former Essendon captain in Perth, Richie Douglas, Adelaide Crows player in Adelaide, Michael Barlow in Melbourne. I'm based up here in Brisbane with Nathan Clark. And I guess also some would say most importantly, our third pillar is our personal development space, where we try to give our students an opportunity to learn about leadership, about goal setting, the importance of goal setting, nutrition, and yeah, just to make our program a bit more of a rounded approach, Bevo, and that's the thinking behind that. So we have a website. It's australianrulesacademy.com.au, and John, our recruiting manager, will get in touch with you if you shoot an inquiry through online.
Wonderful, mate. I'll certainly be giving that a big plug for you on Facebook. And speaking of plugs, I better give a shout out to Dale Fleming, who organised this interview today, and great fella Dale, and obviously used to play footy for Norwood as well. What's your relationship with Dale, and I guess how did you get sort of involved with the Norwood Footy Club, and what made you choose them over any other sample clubs, Blacky?
Yeah, Flemo's a great guy, and he was our conduit to Norwood Footy Club, and introduced us to James Fantasia there. And yeah, they've been great. Obviously, such a proud, historic club in South Australian football, Norwood, and got a great development going on there, redevelopment going on there at the moment, haven't they? Which should be completed soon. So we base ourselves there. We're not affiliated per se with Norwood. We just base ourselves out of Norwood, and use the oval and the gym and so forth. And as I said, James Fantasia has been great, and it's a great facility. And Jared Cotton, the head coach there, helps out as well with our students with some coaching at times as well. So yeah, I feel very fortunate that Flemo has been a great conduit for us to be linked with Norwood. And yeah, as I said, a great club, and always enjoy coming down to Adelaide and working with the students in the program there at Norwood.
Well, looking forward to meeting you in person one of these days, mate, when you do come down to Norwood and shout you a coffee for this great interview today.
It'd be good to see you, mate.
Now, let's get on to your experience with the TV show Survivor, Blacky, because my missus absolutely loves it. It's a very popular show around Australia. I watched it as well when you were on there. It's just unbelievable, some of the stuff that they make you guys do, and then surviving all that time as well. You did really well. You're very close to winning it. You're the 18th person voted out, so you got pretty close, and you got blindsided as well, so you're pretty stiff. Talk us through your experience on Survivor.
Yeah, I loved it, Bev. It was an incredible experience, one of the most amazing experiences of my life, that's for sure. I was actually saying to my wife last night that we made it 6th or 7th, whatever we are today, that this time last year was probably about day 4 or 5 out there in the jungle in Fiji and of the game. And I remember having this overwhelming feeling of I guess, anxiety and just, so I'm talking the lack of food kicked in and the lack of sleep. I think we were probably going off a couple of hours sleep every night for the first week or so. And you're just like a zombie. And obviously the lack of food, you get rations of rice and beans that they don't really fill you up too much. So it really hit me. And I was like, wow, how am I going to last 20 days, let alone 40 days out here? You have that moment and you sort of, so I was lucky to last 42 of the 50 days, and you have moments where you really ebb and flow. But I remember that first day 4 or 5, just thinking, my goodness, this is get me out of here. But that's what a lot of people have. They experience it, everyone goes through it, and you come through it, and your body just adapts. I found weight wise, my body weight, you drop really quickly, really suddenly for. I'd have as a guess, I would have lost 6 or 7 kilos in the first 9 or 10 days. Wow. We hardly ate any protein. We couldn't cook our beans. We kept making a mess of those when we tried boiling them. And then you plateau for a long time. But to talk about the game, I mean, I just loved it. It's such a great experience. It's a bit of a contradiction, Survivor, in that, it's a team. It's a real team, tribe v tribe. Until such time you lose a challenge and you got to go to tribal council and vote someone out, and then it's every man for himself, and that's when the line and the backstabbing and the real gamesmanship comes out. And a lot of people sort of said to me, I said, "Oh, how did you go with that?" I couldn't imagine you'd be great at that. And I was like, well, to be honest, once you're in that environment, you become a part of it. And I remember the first year Anastasia that got voted out. I remember talking to her the day we lost a challenge, therefore we had to go to tribal council. And I said to her around camp that afternoon, I said, Anastasia, I guarantee 100% I'm not voting for you tonight. And then literally less than 30 seconds later, I went and spoke to a couple of my alliance members, and they were really strong, wanted to vote out Anastasia. So sure enough, she lost her middle stump that night, and I thought, might as well happen straight away, start lying. But no, great experience, mate. I totally loved it, and I'll do it all again tomorrow.
Oh, that's wonderful, mate. And yeah, he's such a nice guy. So I can imagine you'd feel terrible doing that because you wouldn't want to offend people, and especially when you said to her that you were going to stay on her side and then have to vote her out. That's tough, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I did. I felt terrible for a little bit, and then you quickly had that feeling of, oh, well, it could have been me, you know. So that's what gets you. And I got blindsided, like you said. I mean, I didn't get. I've copped it from my mates a lot. I didn't get a lot of airtime in terms of strategy or gamesmanship. Unfortunately, you know, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, when I got blindsided by Luke, really was in a great game, survivor player. My plan was to try to get Abby out that night, and anyway, they all told Abby the plan, and I got blindsided. But I went off to Exile Beach, managed to come back into the game, and I got stitched up beautifully again by Luke and Harry because they had some old clues to idols that they'd previously found, and they replanted them in the jungle. And silly me found them, and one of them was like, there's an idol in the shelter, and so I kept looking through the shelter for about 12 hours, and it ripped it apart. And then Luke's one said there's an idol underground, which I dug for 24 hours, just all through the night. I got paranoia, just thought there was someone following me, and I just went a bit mad. So. Yeah, test you, mate, mentally, that's for sure.
Oh, that's wonderful. And how do you go sleeping? Because I can just imagine, like, there's not much to sleep on. It doesn't look very comfortable at all, Blacky.
Yeah, I know. Well, the first night we built our shelter, and they put bamboo on the floor, and I've got a pretty ordinary back with some back issues, and I'm not sleeping on that. There's no way. So I went down the beach, and the tide was out, and I was sleeping on the sand. And not great, mind you. And then the tide must have come in throughout the night. And I woke up, the big wave crashing on me, soaking wet. This is horrible. But it's like welcome to Survivor. But yeah, you throw palm fronds down. We got rid of that bamboo on the floor, and you throw a few palm fronds down, and you kind of just adapt and get used to it. Big, massive crabs though. Like I'm talking like almost basketball size, big crabs sort of floating through our camp at night, and you're hoping you weren't going to get bitten by them, and the sliders around. So, but mate, yeah, I loved it, mate. I'll do it all again.
Well, let's hope we see you in the future with the All Stars, mate, because that was really good, that All Stars series that was on recently.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it? Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it was a fantastic season.
Hey, now let's talk to you about your illustrious footy career, because this is certainly something we can talk about for a long period of time. A three-time premiership player, three-time best and fairest at the Brisbane Lions, Norm Smith medalist, and also a Brownlow medalist. The list goes on, Blacky. Talk us through the footy journey and how it all began and how you end up at the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, Bevo. So I'm a Perth boy. I was actually born in Mount Isa here in North Queensland, but grew up in Perth. And yeah, I was a big West Coast Eagles fan growing up. I started playing from about the age of 9. Dad was a Kiwi, so I think I played rugby before I played Aussie rules. Yeah, so East Fremantle was my waffle club, and I sort of went down there as a 16, 17-year-old to play some Colts, and I was always a really skinny kid. I never really filled out until probably sort of early to mid 20s. So I was I was always pretty skinny, so I never really thought I'd be good enough or big enough to play for footy, and it wasn't until I was sort of 18 and managed to represent WA in the National Carnival that year that I played in that and came back and started hearing whispers that I might get drafted. And as I said, West Coast were my team, and I did some sprint work with them because the knock on me was always my pace and my lack of. And I did some work with their sprint coach, and he helped me a lot, helped me get a lot stronger, and just gave me a couple of yards, I would have thought. They made me do a test one afternoon, and I had to get a certain time over either 20 or 40 metres, and I didn't get that time. And so they're like, yeah, we won't be interested unless you're there late in the draft. They told me openly. And anyway, so I picked 31. Brisbane picked me up. And at the time I had really mixed emotions because I was a Perth boy, wanted to play for either the West Coast or Fremantle. And, moving the other side of the country at 18, it's a big, I know kids every year do it through the draft, but it is a big thing. And I was pretty well looked after at home and had, your life around you in Perth. But when I arrived, I just, I remember getting off the plane, just thinking, I'm just going to give this a red hot crack. And you get a 2-year contract when you get drafted, and I'd love to play a handful of games in that time. And then if I get sent on my way back to Perth, and so be it. But I didn't want to die wondering. So I pretty quickly realised that AFL players, they've got some talent, but I guess what separates them and allows them to have longish careers is their work rate and ability to keep improving. And that was a big part of my sole focus, really, just to find continual improvement and build my body up. And I was lucky in my first year in '98 that we had a lot of injuries to our senior players, and I played 9 games probably before I was ready. I only played 2 games for East Fremantle the year before off the bench, and I arrived at about 72, 73 kilos in Brisbane, so I was pretty skinny. So all that you pick up and you learn the first year or two. The second year here in '99 for me, I was lucky, I guess, to get a regular game and find my feet at AFL level. And and then a couple of years after that, we obviously had that breakout year in 2001, and it was a pretty incredible era to be a part of.
Yeah, you won the 3 premierships in a row, and the 4th one, I have to say, I feel a little bit sorry for you because I'm actually a power man, and don't hold that against me. And I almost, if we weren't playing against Brisbane in the grand final, 100% would have been going for you guys to win that grand final. But when the siren went, I was a happy Port fan, but I felt really sorry for you guys at the same time going for your 4 in a row. But the 3 premierships, though, mate, which one was your favourite and why?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Lee Matthews not so long ago about it. He said to me, he thinks about the 4th one more than the 3 we won.
Oh, right.
And you do a little bit, because I guess it's the most recent, and you often learn more from your failures than your success. But look, the first one against Essendon in '01 was just sheer exhilaration because it is the first one, and that was incredibly special. I remember feeling a little bit overawed running out there and playing that day, and just the occasion. You're a kid growing up wanting to be there, and here you are, and in front of 100,000 and the big TV audience and whatever. So that was just amazing. I didn't have a particularly great game that day, but that first one was incredible. The second one was probably more relief because we were the red hot favourites in '02, and Collingwood really gave it to us, and we only won by 9 points in the end. So that was probably more relief. And the third one again against Collingwood in '03 as well. They were probably more the favourites going in. They beat us a month earlier, first week of the finals. And so that was just, but, they didn't really show up that day. They didn't have a great day themselves, and we were able to get out to a pretty big lead early on. And that was just the most I've enjoyed a game of footy. To be able to have a big lead and just know that you're probably going to win the game from a long way out. The pressure's off, and to be able to enjoy that on the biggest stage was an incredible feeling, and it's probably my favourite game of footy ever.
In 2002, you won the football's most best individual award in terms of the AFL. That was the Brownlow Medal. Mate, what was it like when they announced that you were the Brownlow Medal winner for 2002, and you could celebrate with your friends and family?
Yeah, look, it was a real surprise. I knew I had a reasonable year, but I still, I played with guys like Michael Voss and Nigel Lappin, and Ackerd won it the year before, and I didn't see myself in that Brownlow medal winning field, if you like. And when I started getting a lot of votes late in the count, it really sort of it really shocked me, I guess, and really it was amazing. I was like, I think it was probably the worst Brownlow speech of all time. I was that I was that shocked, and there was a fair few and ahs going on, but it was amazing. But in all reality, I mean, I just had to try and block it out pretty quickly because, 4 or 5 days later, we're playing in that grand final. So it's a pretty full-on week. Being in Brisbane, it probably helped to hide, away from the scrutiny, whatever you call it, for the weekend. It really helped going down to Melbourne on the Thursday, just so we go into camp together 2 days out from the big game. But it was amazing, Bevo. It was a childhood dream. You often hear players, you don't, I guess, fully appreciate it until you retire, and that's probably the case. But like, I don't want to sound modest or whatever, but the premierships are far more enjoyable when I look back than that. The work that goes in together as a group. It just doesn't take 1 year to win a premiership. It takes, several years to build as a group and get to know each other on and off the field for that matter. And the premierships are special, but the Brownlow was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to win one flag myself, mate. Nowhere near, obviously, the standard of AFL, but any premiership's a good one, as they say.
That's it.
And now let's talk about your teammates, because you played with some absolute rippers. You played with, obviously, Acker and Brownie, some real characters. But who was your funniest teammate that you played with at the Lions, and why?
I reckon Mel Michael, our big fullback, big Papua New Guinean fullback, he was a riot. He just loved you to take the mickey out of a run. He'd steal your phone whenever you weren't looking and write messages to random people on your phone. He'd sit in the back, like the auditorium when Lee Matthews was up, speaking to the playing group, and he'd sit behind you. And he used to love wearing these like leather shoes during the middle of a Queensland summer without socks on, so his feet were all sweaty, and he'd sit behind you, he'd pull the heel of his shoe off, and he'd pull it right behind your ear here, and you just smell this stinking foot, and you end up just cracking up or having a go at him, and Lee would start flipping out for distracting the meeting, and he just loved it. In fact, I think Lepper tells a story once where, they were such brothers down back, full back, centre half back together, and Mel he'd get bored, and I think one day he came in at half time and Lepper was injured. He was up in the grandstand, and Mel got his phone out and he's ringing Lepper at half time up in the grandstand, asking how he's going, how you rate my game so far, and what are we doing after the game. And just a clown, but such a great player, such a great talented player, Mel, and he was a real rock for us down back, wasn't he? But he was a great teammate. Loved him.
I love that. That's brilliant. And now you played on some of the best mids going around in terms of from the AFL perspective, Blacky. But who are some of your toughest opponents and why?
Yeah, look, I think Cameron Ling and Brett Kirk were a couple rippers. Kane Corns was very good as well. Lingy particularly because he was a lot bigger than I was, and he'd play from behind, and he'd really, I guess, piggyback you around, and just you wouldn't have much space to get away from him. He's a great runner for his size, probably 12 or 15 kilos heavier than I was. And you try and take you forward when they got the footy as well. And, he grew up as a full forward, so he got a really good set of hands. So he was really tough. Brett Kirk's just determination and competitiveness just made him really hard to play on as well. And not a particularly big guy, Kirky, was he? But just such a super competitive guy that he had to earn every kick. And Corns was similar in that he'd like to play from behind, and Cornsey used to like to hold on a bit more than others. But no, he was a super competitive guy and very hard to get a kick on as well.
Yeah, I remember that grand final in 04. That's one of the roughest or toughest grand finals I reckon in recent years, other than probably 89, but that I remember. Some of the biffo and the stuff that was going on during that game, Blacky, man, it would have been unbelievable to be a part of it. Yeah,
well, actually, I was talking to you off air before that. We're doing these Zoom calls at the moment with my academy program. We're having some guest speakers on, and we had Choco Williams drop in yesterday, and asked him briefly around the 04 grand final, and because they came at us or after us before the bounce even physically. They really attacked us and probably put us on the back foot. It's a boxing fight. They threw the first punch, and they really unsettled us. And to their credit, they did a great job of that. And I guess that was a real tactic driven by Choco. And so not sure what I was going to say about that, but not great memories that day, mate.
No, I won't talk about it too much, buddy. That's all right. But one thing I love about footy, though, and you mentioned before, you talked about the guys that you played against, and obviously, there's that white line fever when the siren goes. But one thing I respect about AFL players, the off-the-field relationships that you guys have. Like you catch up with your Kane Corns and these sort of guys post-footy, and it's just so wonderful to see the relationship you still have, considering how hard you went at each other during the games over those years. Yeah, absolutely, Bevo. Yeah, I mean, I hated those guys when I was playing. I'd play on those three probably for about 10 years. Kirky, Lingy, Cornsey, and you really have obviously a real respect for each other during that time, but a real dislike. But Lingy wouldn't meet a better bloke. He's a great guy, and the other two I don't know as well. Kirky I know a little bit.
Cornsey not so much. I don't know him overly well, but just great blokes. They'd be mates who lived in the same city. I'm sure I'd catch up with them a lot. So it's special that respect and admiration you have for each other, and I guess it's based just on the competitive nature that each of us are when we're out there. But when it's all over, you shake hands, and when it's all over your career, I guess you have more respect for what you went through together and how hard you pushed each other.
That's wonderful, mate. And before I let you go, I just want to ask you about Lethal as well, because he was a very tough player on the field. What was he like as a coach? He'd like to dish out a few sprays?
Yeah, Lee was an incredible coach. You hear all us players that played under him talk about he had a great ability to simplify his message and make the, I guess, somewhat complicated basic. He's very, very much a percentages man, coach-wise, with his decision-making. And we played in an era that was still quite simple in that time. And I think we had like 10 building blocks was the foundation of our game under Lee during that era. Some pretty basic stuff. Make sure you're behind, punch the ball. Don't try to mark it. That was one I remember always hearing from Lee. And but just a wonderful manager. I guess it's one thing to climb the mountain once and win it like we did in 01, but for him to challenge us individually to continue to improve and find areas of your game to improve, I guess was a mark of Lee's coaching. And then collectively as a group, how do you get better every year? And he used to always say to us as well. He said, "Boys, here we are, preliminary final week. All we've done is qualify for preliminary final. You win that, you win a grand final. Boys, I'm sorry to say, all you've done right now is qualify. You haven't won anything." And he used to talk about the pyramid of games you had to win back with a 16 competition. Play finals. It might have been 12 or 13 wins to make the top 8. To be top 4 might have been 16 wins, 15 wins, perhaps. I forget exactly what it was. Top 2 sort of thing. And then he'd sort of, and we'd review that once a month, how we're going in the course of a season. He was just a great operator. So many life lessons, there's so many I guess, one-liners or, life lessons that he's taught us. And I guess some of those have come down from the great Alan Jeans and John Kennedy that he played under over time. And just a great, fantastic guy. A lot more relaxed these days when he's out of the coaching world, and but just got to feel very fortunate being able to play under such a wonderful football person in Lee Matthews. And it gave us great confidence when he was up in your box, running out in grand final day. When he had your back, it gave us as a playing group enormous confidence.
It's wonderful, mate. Well done to you. And obviously, those 3 flags certainly go down as one of the greatest football teams of all time, especially in the last 20 years, that's for sure. Also, mate, before I let you go, the Simon Black Academy, where to from here, so the next 5 years? What sort of plans do you have in future, and where do you sort of see yourself going forward?
Yeah, Bevo, I guess we got a big issue at the moment is trying to create awareness about our program in schools and football clubs. And I hear a lot of when I speak to people about our age that love footy at school leaver age bracket. I say, I wish there was a program like that when I was leaving school. And it's been not really nice to hear that, the combination of education and football you get to do in a program like ours. So for us, it's about trying to create that awareness in schools, and we are a university pathway. We're not in that TAFE space. We're actually in the university space, which is great, through Torrens University, our provider, and you can still do 1 year in a diploma level. So it's awareness really for us. We have the 4 programs in Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne and Brisbane. So, I think it's more about just trying to grow those and continually develop them. And we've got a great team involved of people these days with our coaches and our mentors and our tutors of our students. So, Bevo, it's really about just trying to continue the growth of the program and the awareness in each state.
Well, keep up the great work, mate. Absolutely love the academy, and as I mentioned earlier, I'll certainly give it a good plug for you, and look forward to seeing where it goes from here. And also, I love your work on Triple M as a commentator, and you're looking forward to the season starting soon and hearing your great expert advice and expert opinions on this great game of ours.
Oh, good on you, Bevo. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. It's been really nice to have a chat with you, bud.
Likewise, mate. Take care. We'll speak soon.
Yeah, we'll do. Take care, mate.
You too. See you, mate.
The Legends with Bevo. Thanks to the Holdy Hotel, Coopers, and Anytime Fitness Glenelg.